Hello, everybody. This episode of Two in the Cooler is coming to you in affiliation with Instacart, the best way to get your groceries in 2020. Guys, football, it's officially back, okay? And for a lot of people, the most important part of the game is the snacks. Listen, we got a rule at my house: you need good snacks. And there's no better way to get those snacks to your house than by using Instacart. They'll deliver your favorite products from some of your favorite stores in as little as 1 hour. And right now, Two in the Cooler listeners get free delivery on their first order of $35 or more. Use the link in our show notes to get that deal. This episode was unbelievably fun to record. We've got Eann the Ear Robinson on. He's a co-founder of a company called Ear Quality. He's a music manager. The guy has got a lot going on. He's one of the busiest guys in the city of Buffalo, so we're very happy that he took the time to come and sit down with us, and we had a blast. He's one of the best guys. So I'm not going to talk any longer. Let's get right into it. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Eann the Ear Robinson.
Very stressful.
Yeah.
It only
going,
gets
everybody?
easier from here.
Yeah. I was going to say, I've got a real good feeling about this episode already. We had a little, there's a little behind-the-scenes conversation going before we got started.
There's
here.
magic in the air, ladies and gentlemen. There's little pixie
there's
dust
something.
floating
There's a
around.
little spark.
Oh, man.
And I feel like a lot has happened since we talked last, Andy. I mean, between, episode 24?
Yeah.
Okay, so, all right, episode 24. So between episode 22 and episode 23, all that happened was I sat in the house for another 10 days.
That's right.
So now that we're back in action. We've got a lot of good things. A really special guest on today. I'm excited for it. Andy, I'll let you tee that up if you'd like.
Yeah, Eann Robinson, thank you for being here, man. I know you're a busy guy. We appreciate it.
I appreciate y'all for having me. I'm really excited. I'm as pumped as you all are.
Yeah, I've been over here. I've been like the past few days I've been buzzing about it, especially, doing like research and stuff on you for the podcast.
Oh, you did research.
Just a little bit, not too in depth or anything, but we got our research department going in.
Hope you found some good things. I
don't know. There's some skeletons in your closet that I don't think you want me bringing up.
Did not rob that bank. Mm-mm. No, sir.
But I kind of think it's interesting the way that Eann and I actually met. We were talking because we've been trying to get Eann on the podcast for like a month or something like that, maybe even longer. I have no idea. But so we were texting about it and stuff, and so we got to go back to what 4 years? Yeah, 4 years ago. 2016. It's the fall of 2016, and I was transferring to Fredonia. And
Blue Devils.
There you go. And so I was going to the student transfer orientation, and they walk you around and show you a bunch of different stuff, and you sit in on a couple different talks and things like that. And so I'm just kind of having a good time. And we go into this one room, and, there's like this whiteboard or something, and there's Eann and this other girl. And at one point, things are kind of getting warmed up, and Ian's like, anybody from like Niagara Falls, Buffalo area? And so I raised my hand. So we kind of have like this little back and forth, and I don't remember what we were saying to each other, but I remember at the very end of it, they were kind of trying to get started, so they were kind of politely telling us to like be quiet.
Be quiet. Yeah.
And so we kind of wrap up, and one of us is like, oh, I'm sure if we talked for another 15 minutes, we'd find some connection or whatever. So bring it back 4 years later. This is like a couple months ago or whatever. our dad, Big Jer, texts
Big
us,
Jerry Canada.
and or he texts me, and he's like, I met this guy. You should have him on the podcast. He's your cousin. And I go, okay. And then so we start texting each other, and I go onto your Instagram page, and I'm like, oh, I have met this guy before, like very briefly, but I just think it's so funny that we were like, yeah, oh man, if we had 15 minutes, like kind of, because, you know, everybody in the area has like some connection or
Right.
whatever. And like next thing you know, we're related.
And it's so funny because I was talking to you guys' dad for a minute. We just chatting, and I believe you're in Syracuse.
I'm in Rochester.
Somebody's in Syracuse? Rochester. Somebody's not here, so yeah, Rochester. And he was just talking about you, and he said, "Yeah, you might know he went to Fredonia," and I'm like, "Yeah, he was a transfer student." I said, "He was a transfer student. Yeah, I must know him." He didn't have no picture, so I couldn't go.
That makes sense. He loves us just enough, but he doesn't love us enough to actually know what we look like.
No, he keeps the black and white photos that come with the picture frames. He prefers them over us.
The thing that it kind of rolls out, like
Yeah.
Oh, no. Not Uncle Jerry, no, but yeah. So we were just chatting, and he just told me about how the podcast. I'm like, oh, wow, we need to connect. And he said Fredonia. I'm like, absolutely, we definitely need to connect. If he went to Fredonia, it only makes sense. And lo and behold, we texted, and here I am. And then you all is hyping it up, but I'm as excited to be on this podcast as well. But man, that's very interesting. And it took, sadly, it took a funeral for me to figure this out.
Yeah.
So that's the sad part.
Yeah. It's crazy too because I didn't even know that story. To be honest, I had no clue. I didn't even know. Yeah, so that was the first time I'm hearing it too. But it is funny, you know. It's everybody's connected, and everybody goes to Fredonia too. I feel like everybody's at least popped their head in there once or twice. So
and
yeah,
it's horrible in higher ed. I work in higher education, and a lot of people I work with are old Fredonia alum.
Oh
yeah, it's so funny. It's so funny.
Yeah, I believe it. That's a big program there. But I mean, while we're on the subject of Fredonia, we may as well just jump right into it because that's where, if I'm not mistaken, you started your company, Ear Quality.
Yeah.
And so, did you start it with Kimon?
Yeah, and you said his name right too. People call him Keyman.
Keyman.
Yeah, people be ruining his name.
I think I got that on the spice rack somewhere.
Keyman?
Yeah, Keyman. It's good. You put it in a little soup. It's all right.
Or a little chicken. Oh wow. Yeah. So yeah, went to Fredonia and started. It was actually called Ear Entertainment, and it started off with Ear Entertainment, and then over time, y'all, I just like Ear Entertainment. First of all, I was getting tired of typing entertainment. It was too long. You have 3 letters, and then you have this whole long word. Just like, nah.
That's such a great point. Nobody considers that when they're like making up names for shit. But if you're gonna be working on something like that every day,
keep it short.
Yeah, keep it simple.
Yeah. I'm typing in their ear, and I'm getting aggravated. I got to write this whole entertainment. So over time, I took an idea from Scooter Braun, who's the manager to Justin Bieber, Ariana Grande, and I took out of his idea because his company is not like, oh, Scooter Braun Management. It's called wow, I'm going blank. Don't do it. Braun Projects. And it's just simple. It's not like anything entertainment, anything management. And so I decided that me and Kimon kept on thinking about the name. I'm like, bro, I don't know. I think Ear Quality just sounds good because a lot of people in Fredonia, especially, I listen to all different type of music. And then when people used to come over to the apartment, and I used to always play music through like some type of speaker, chill music, different type of music, hip hop, alternative, anything you think of. And people were like, yo, you got a really good ear. You got a quality ear. I was like, oh, thank you. And then over time, I'm like, ear quality. And then I came to Keymount House one time and just like, bro, I think we need to change the name. And we came up with different names, but he was focused on ear quality as much as I was. And so ear quality too is the biggest thing that you want in your music. You want your EQs to be correct. You want your EQs to level out. You don't want them all over the place. And that's the big factor. And believe it or not, the ear part is actually my initials. My initials is ear. And
Oh shit.
and and so how we look at it too is that I'm the ear while Keyman helps with the quality. Um, and that's how we mesh well together because um, where I'm good at and where I'm not good at, he's good at, and where he's not good at, I'm good at. But yeah, over time, we your quality just seems better. It sticks with you, and then even when you want to abbreviate it, it's EQ. It looks better.
I have to
I love
say
the brand.
that one, I like it just sounds nice coming out of the mouth, ear quality, and two, that is probably the coolest story behind a name that I've ever heard. Like it has so many different layers to it, and it just sounds so good. I liked that a lot.
No, appreciate you, bro.
Yeah.
It just yeah, it was very thoughtful. And honestly, I actually was dating this girl out after high school, and she actually brought it up to me to even put my initials in it. So um, I was like, I don't know, I might call it something else. She said, no. She's the one who pointed it out, like, yep, your initials is how people get your music. I'm like, what? I'm like, oh, ear.
Yeah.
Oh. And it just only makes sense. And that's how you listen to music. Honestly, your hearing is one of your first instrument you learn how to use, is your hearing. People don't think that your hearing is an instrument. It's an instrument. And that's what usually sell people though too when I kind of explain it. But yeah, that's really one of the first instrument you learn how to use. And I'm like, wow, that really makes sense. And why not be the brand if it's gonna be part of me?
Wow. Yeah,
You sold
that makes
me.
a lot of sense. So
Um,
you mentioned that you guys have evolved a lot. I know now just with the name. So what did you start out doing?
Um, how far you just in college or a little bit before?
A little bit before. Let's take it back.
Oh, so high school. I was in business honor society. I love business. Always loved business. It's just something about business that I just enjoy. Um, but music wise, what really got me into it was I first took this summer class. No, this class at NU, Niagara University. It was a program called Yeah. It stands for Young Entrepreneur Academy, and I took that in sophomore year of high school. You got to pay $1,000. We got a nice little payment plan, and over time they teach you how to build a business. They teach you how to build a business plan. Um, excuse me, and they also give you a chance to pitch your idea to investors, and you really get money out of that. So we left about I think $700, $800. And we was able to get speakers. We was able to get a small little Chromebook, mics, the amps, and everything like that. So long-winded story. So it used to call Team Connection. Uh, don't ask me where that name came from. I don't have no elaborate story. It was honestly because I was going to a community center called The Connection. And then I'm like, oh, we high schoolers, we're gonna be all together. It's gonna be a great time to connect. So put Team Connection. Stupid. But I had all this equipment now and I started to throw house parties in high school. And so I was throwing mad house party in Lacelle, actually down the block from Wendy House, if you know, 72nd Street in Stevenson.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So literally, um, so if you say if you are on 72nd Stevenson, you at that corner. If you just go a couple houses over, like it's a blue house, you used to have house parties right there, all the time. And then Wendy actually allowed me to have a house party at her house one time, right? And not a lot of people showed up because somebody else was having a party, right? It was more of a birthday party for them. So, oh, I'm so sorry, Ian. Maybe next time. And she was being funny. I said, okay. Next time I had a party, y'all. She said, all these people coming to my house. People coming down the block. People going through the back gate. She said, oh my God, I can't have all these people here. I said, well, we making money with you. But I say all this to say that it's really started with the house parties, really. That really kind of started it off.
That's interesting, especially when you consider. I know 2 years ago, you know, you helped put on the Kid Ink concert at Fredonia, and a lot of the
Oh,
people
well,
that you manage opened that show. Uh, so that's just interesting to see the. That's kind of like a promotional thing, I guess. But what I'm really interested in is why you chose to get into managing, because I'm kind of interested in your take in this, and I don't mean
yeah,
any offense, but like, I feel
no,
like in the media, music managers, like if I think about recent movies like Star is
mm,
Born, Straight Outta Compton, Rocket Man, the Elton John movie, those are three big movies that do not depict music managers in the best light. Is that
absolutely.
something that you run into? And why do you
I
think
was
that that perception is out there?
well, I would definitely say the '80s was a horrible time for business, like management back then. They was just trying to get you out of your money, suck your money out. I think where we at now, where artists can be more of the CEO now and be more independent, as you can't really put the wolves over their eyes anymore. But I would say, kind of going to the first part of the question, like how did I decide to really get into management? I knew I wasn't no artist. I was not about to be a rapper, call me E nasty or anything like that. And I'm on stage. I don't know. That's never been me. And I always knew that over time I wanted to be part of the music industry in some sense. And then Diddy really became a figure in a perception that I wanted to kind of inspire to be. And and I know he got bad business deal, but my biggest thing when it comes to business deals is who is reading your contracts too. But we gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that in a second. But that's who I inspired to be Diddy because not only he did music, he also executive produced things. He also did clothing. It was just also somebody as a person of color that I see that's actually doing it. And you don't really see that, especially in Niagara Falls. You don't see black, especially a black person, really doing it. And so that inspired me, and that really kind of molded me, kind of want to go into the music business. And I've always been a good people person, I guess. I've been told, and that it's a counseling almost aspect of it that I enjoy too. And that's where my master's degree come in. But that's the whole nother. We can talk about that later. But it does come in handy. But I like to be behind the scenes. I like to kind of help the artist or help anybody, even if it's a business that we help in, um, watch their ideas come in fruition. And I like to see that, execute the goals for these people. That's really what got me into it. And then honestly, I didn't even know you can go to school for it. It took like all I knew I was going for music business. I mean, business administration. It took actually Kemon. We went to the same high school. It took Kemon to drag me to a high school fair, one of college fair. And I'm like, no, I'm not going because I'm going to end trip out some such. And then he said, no, bro, come with me. So I'm like, oh, it's a way to get out of class. Why not? I go and we stumble upon Fredonia, and then I'm looking through their pamphlet just nonchalantly, but end up like stumbling upon music business. I'm like, music business. And then I guess just from there, it just really stuck with me. Like it almost felt like, don't want to be cheesy, but the stars aligned. It's almost like it made sense. It really made sense to me. And I don't know if I answered the question, but
Hey, no, that was
but
perfect.
No, that was, you know what? And I don't want to like come through because I know, Andrew, you have a bunch more questions. And there's a couple things that you mentioned, though, that I want to ask you about just because
Please.
I'll share a little bit because I don't think you know too much about my background. So I'm kind of a similar thing happened to me where I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I ended up going to school for sport management. So kind of the same thing. It's a very business-like degree, but with an emphasis in sport. And so with my kind of more sports background, I was never super familiar with the whole entertainment side of like music, stuff like that. And that's one thing that Andrew is definitely more familiar with. But you talk about going to school for this, and then your master's degree, which you said you'd get into, and even being a people person. And one thing that I've found a lot that we talk a lot about from a sports perspective is like how to deal or how not man. I don't like to use the word manage, even though that's the title, but how to connect with your artists and different personalities that may come across your desk that you are now almost responsible for, and you being kind of, from what I can tell based off what you said about not necessarily want to be on stage, more of like a reserved personality, but in a good way. So how do you go about managing people who may have like a more outgoing on-stage personality? And do you think like that program did a lot for you? I just want to kind of understand how it compares like to sport, because it's really interesting to hear this side about it from like a music perspective.
Good question. And when you say program, you talking about going to Fredonia?
Yeah.
Okay. Really good question. I'm gonna need a second.
Yeah, no, it was a long-winded question too. I was but it was almost like as I started thinking it, everything that I was thinking, you already started to talk about. So then I was like, all right, now it's almost like yeah.
So to be honest with the program, it taught me what I really need as a foundation: copyrights and contracts, and then more a little bit about the business jargon, terminology, things to look out for. But there was still a thing that kind of was missing. It was more about bands. It wasn't about just an artist. And so actually my cohort was the first cohort to bring actually hip hop and a whole hip hop showcase too. So there was things that was missing, but there's some missing pockets that I was able to kind of make it my own too, when it comes to that. But I would say it was a little bit outdated, man. It really was a little bit outdated. We kept on talking about what happened in the 80s. There's things that I wish I would have learned. Honestly, if I could do it all over again, I probably would go to Syracuse. I didn't know they had a music business program. And they had more funding too, if you think about it, having people come in.
Yeah, it's a big school.
But yeah, it's definitely a big school.
It's also, it's not a state school either, so that's a big part of it. Yeah.
And so there's some things that I felt like was kind of a waste of time in a sense, and there's some things that was definitely impactful for what I know today. And then working with somebody with a personality, I'm a type of person that like to adapt. But if you are if you like up here, I can kind of meet you there, but I can't be up there all the time.
Yeah,
I cannot be all the time. But it almost comes to management. People need to understand it's not like, say, Matt, you come to me and like, yeah, I want you to manage me. It's not that easy. I don't even know you as a person. I need to know you a little bit more, because it's almost like I'm investing my life into you as well. So it's more me kind of getting to know you a little bit better. Do we mesh? Do we have the same values? Like, are you doing like, you do coke in the back or something like that? Like, I can't be around stuff.
Yeah.
I can't be around nothing like that. Or I gotta feel you out. It gotta be that type of thing. So if a artist is like and their person is up high, I would have to already kind of, in a sense, build a relationship with them already if I can work with them. Because I have been around with some people that just got some personalities that I can't get jiggy with at all.
That was a great answer. It almost sounds to me, and I don't know if you've ever thought about it like this, but, and like I said, my understanding of the music business is very at an elementary level. Besides the music, like I listen to a lot of music, and that's pretty much it. But it almost sounds like you're more like as a title of a manager, you're the type of person that an artist would want, because you're almost more of a leader for them, not a leader in the sense where you're trying to show them what to do, but help them grow into where they be. And it's not to you just about, oh, can you make this track that's gonna be successful? It's about, let's get to know each other. Let's, build a personal relationship and let's make some special shit happen. And I love that. That is exactly like kind of what I was trying to get into. So I'm glad that we got that out of you. I didn't mean to interrupt Andy. I know he's got all his
No,
formal
and I
questions right now.
make a point to that. I'm glad you mentioned that, Matt, because that's a good point, and that's even over time of working with different type of people. Because I haven't been this person this whole time. It
Yeah.
took like working with people, wanting it more than them. In management, you should never want it more than the artist. You should never want it more than the artist because you are managing the career. You are not the career, and and that sometimes people have that a horrible distinction between the two. But I'm glad you really mentioned that. And with me, where I'm at today, it's still a learning thing. And with my artists that I work with, and this is the education part of me. It's an educational thing. It's not like I know all the information. I'm doing all this work, and my artist just sitting around just collecting a check. No, it's a learning experience across the board. It's a okay. Why we sign up with BMI? Why we need to sign up with Sound Exchange? Why we need to work with these different companies, different things, and why you need to have copyrights for certain songs, like things like that. I'm not just saying, oh, we need this. Pay me my 20%. Pay me that. Mm-mm, mm-mm. And even if I was a top tier manager, I just know my morals. It's never about the money. It's really never about the money. For me, the success to see my artist successful and be part of that, that's rewarding. I believe me, I'm not gonna say it like I'll do it for free. I want the money, obviously,
Yeah.
but
Oh yeah.
it's not all about it's not all about the money. Like, oh, take this deal, or just like you said you need to make this beat. Now, if Disney calling and they got a check and whatever, and they say you need to make it like a whole new world type of beat, then I'm gonna let the producer know, like, Mauro, you need to go do that. but it, but that's a conversation too.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
and before we get back into some other stuff, I think that it's awesome to hear you say that because I think that there's a lot of people that given they get the chance to hear you talk about that and like how it's an educational and it's almost like you don't want to use it's a passion thing, right? Like that's something that you are interested into and yeah, it helps pay bills, but at the same time it's just an understanding between you and the artist, and that's a thing that I feel like whether it be the sports world, the entertainment world, that a lot of people don't have that quality about them where they still stand to their morals and their ethics and what they believe in to help people kind of accomplish what they want as much as what the person wants. And if I think if people could hear you talk like that, it would be I think like there's a lot of room for like a lot of people would be interested in hearing you say
Mm.
that because that's like from a sports perspective, like if I was looking to hire somebody to work for like a front office job for a sports team, I would hire you off that line alone. So it's really
Mm.
interesting to hear it from a music perspective because Andy, what are you laughing at? This is what
I
I
just
like.
like
I
it.
know that you got yeah.
I'm glad
It's
that you
yeah
guys are talking because it's interesting that you bring up the kind of similarities in
yeah.
these
It's
two,
and that's why I
separate
want it because like I
industries.
said, I don't know that much about it, but that was awesome. So I'll step back for now from a perspective like that, but.
Last thing, Matt. Uh, Sports is very interesting because it's almost similar to music business. It really is, in a sense. It's just really knowing what you're doing, and I think in the connection, it's really about your network. To be honest, none of my success, like I would say to this day, I always tell. I don't know if you know, Drew, if you know John Greenan, if you remember John Greenan.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, John Green is the reason why we was able to open up for Kid Eann. He was the one who put our name out there, and that happens because I know him. He actually seen the work that I've done. So I really believe when Jay-Z said that your net worth is your net worth. I really believe when he says that because it's not about how much money you have, but who you know.
Build connections, especially a personal connection like you're talking about. That'll last a long time. So,
Come on.
Right. Which sounds pretty similar to the connection that you have with Mero one of your clients. You guys have known each other for a while. I know in a recent interview that he said when you first approached him about managing him, he was hesitant, and I think he turned you down at first.
You did your research, Drew. That's why I'm over here smiling because I you did your research. Yes. So when I met Morrow, it was more through I was a peer counselor at the time. I was a junior at Fredonia. And he came through a program called EDP, and but over time, as I'm getting to know him, I'm like, I'm here for music business. This dude is producing. Um, he's from Buffalo, so we kind of local, know how he far as Buffalo, cool dude. And then, and that goes back to the point, Matt, where I didn't build that relationship. We only known each other for a little bit. And then I just seen talent. I really seen talent, and almost just is one of those moments when the stars connected again. It just made sense. And at the time, he was so like, I think when he said hesitant, that's an understatement, Drew. He was like, "No, I don't need no team. I can do all this by myself. Managers is just greedy. Why would I pay somebody all this money?" It was just he wasn't like aggressive. I'm kind of making it more aggressive, but he said, "Nah, I don't need that. I don't need it." Like he was more like nonchalant with it, but yeah, and just over time we built that relationship, and and it over time makes sense. And then it took, honestly, I believe it really took that first project that we did together for him to be like, yo, it makes sense. Like they about this stuff. He's just not chatting. He's really gonna make some things happen.
Was that Welcome to 7-Eleven?
Yes, yeah, 7-Eleven. That was actually my first project that I ever executive produced. Over like getting the helping people find beats, kind of coming with the concept, and also EPing the first music video too. What you're saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, Welcome to 7-Eleven. Believe it or not, we did that all in my apartment in Park Place. That's why it's called Apartment 711. And the concept is about me and Kima actually life living in Park Place. A lot of people don't know either as well. And that's where the stars align again, where it just that kind of solidified where like, yo, I actually can do this. I really can do this and really be good at it. And and then when we got the video together and we dropped the video, I'm like, man, listen. And the guy who directed the video is a Phenomenal alum too.
Yeah, that's one of the first things when we started texting. I checked out that particular video. I didn't realize that. I mean, I guess it makes sense now that I think about it. But I didn't realize that was your guys' like very first one, because that's a great looking video, and that's a good video. It's a good song. Um, but yeah, so your relationship with Mero. So how did you turn? So you just turned him around because he saw that this was something that you know you could help
It
him
was
with,
it,
and
it started off as a brothership.
yeah,
It really started off as a brothership, and then he's just always over at the house. And going again, Matt, back to that point about just building that relationship, because that's really what it was about. It really was about just building that relationship and kind of get to know each other and know that he is a passionate person, a hard worker. Because Matt, you may drop a song, or Drew, you may drop a song, and then I'm like, yo, we decided to work on an EP, and you're not ready to work on an EP. Nah, I'm just gonna. I get to the studio when I get to it. No, no, we can't. We can't do it. I'm not a half-ass manager. I can't work with a half-ass artist. Pretty
right.
much.
That kind of reminds me of what when you did the check-in with him. Do you do those on Facebook Live, or what do you do those on?
So I started during quarantine because I was bored. I'm really a people person. I needed to talk to somebody other than my roommate, to be honest. But so I'm in season two, and so I do it on Facebook, and then I do it through YouTube now.
Oh, okay. Because one of the
I don't do any
things,
I don't do any editing or anything like that.
right? one of the things that you said to Maro when you guys were talking was part of the reason that your relationship is so strong is obviously you guys know each other and there's a lot of trust there. Part of the reason that there can be so much trust is because you said that one of the most important things I think for anybody to hear who's thinking about getting in any industry really, but especially some element of entertainment, is that you said you can't work with somebody if they're an asshole.
No. Mm-mm.
And that is
It's going to make the job harder.
huge. Absolutely. And I wonder if you agree with me, like especially now when everybody is a consumer producer of media, and it's a lot easier to, record your own album or something like that without any outside help and upload it to, anything, SoundCloud, whatever. Like if you're an asshole, people don't need you anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we can't build that. My job is necessary to kind of help build a general wealth in a sense. And and the best way to make a general wealth is getting partnership, getting endorsement deals, getting things like that. I can't get you no endorsement deal if you're an asshole. Old Navy ain't gonna want to rock with you. Ain't nobody else gonna rock with you. Like I don't. People just need to get that together. 1 second, y'all. I'm just grabbing my charger real quick because I guess it wasn't plugged up.
Oh, no problem.
No problem.
It's actually worked out. My man. It's always good to have a team. You didn't see nobody help me out, did you?
No. He's got people in the wings ready to jump in.
We all set now. Okay, I'm so worried. But yeah, I can't bring nothing to you. Nobody, Louis Vuitton ain't gonna want to work with you. I don't got no connection like that just yet. But these different brands like wouldn't want to work with you if you're an asshole. You out here just slapping mofos just around, left and right, and you out here stealing from 7-Eleven. No, we can't do that.
Yeah, that's a big thing. I think a lot of people need to hear that. So I'm glad that you guys talked about
would y'all
that.
want to? If I was an asshole, I doubt y'all want to interview me.
No, you are, because you're so far on the opposite end of that spectrum. That's why we were so excited for this. We were like, Eann is so far from an asshole. Like this is gonna be a great podcast to do because we're gonna have a good time.
And you could tell that instantly. I mean, you're like, I know we already talked about it, but like it really is a personality thing. And when you talk to somebody right away and you can tell that, okay, this person's not the worst person I've talked to today. You know what I mean? Because you meet a lot of people who are focused on goals, and you talk about artists who, and both of you mentioned it, like artists who think they can kind of do it on their own, whether it's true or not. Everything's easier with the team, and if you're just willing to make show somebody what your personality is and not always be so cold to somebody, and understand that, wait, this might benefit me, I shouldn't act like a total douchebag, and do the things that you're saying, and it goes a long way and it benefits everybody. And it's something that I like to talk about from a sports perspective, and like we've already compared their similarities. So it's, I don't know, I'm really enjoying all this stuff. One, I'm learning a lot of stuff about the music industry that I didn't really know from you, and two, it's just, I don't know if people, it's kind of tough to, because we're an audio platform, but I've been smiling kind of the whole podcast. So if you're watching us on YouTube, nothing weird's going on. I just, I get excited talking about this stuff.
Don't get too excited now, bro.
No. We'll be all right.
So with this whole pandemic thing, I didn't mean to cut you off, Matthew. You got something good to say?
No, you're good. Yeah, keep going.
With the whole pandemic thing, I mean, I know that Maro's going to be putting out some music, hopefully later this month. But with this whole pandemic, did it just set you guys way back, or was there any way you were able to, actually turn it into an advantage?
That's a really great question, Drew. To be honest with you, it was more of a moment where we all needed to take a break. Mentally, it was draining for everybody, even for myself. But on the artist, Morrow, it was more time for him to kind of recollect his thoughts, and kind of he had to switch how he had to work. The different type of relationship he had was moving a little bit different, and it was just a time for everybody to take a mental reset.
Yeah, that's an important distinction because I feel like, I mean, I feel like it's part of this country's culture. I don't know, but it's like when you are on the verge of a breakdown, there's a little bit of pressure to just keep going. And that's not always the best thing for you. A lot of people underestimate the benefit because it's hard to kind of look in like that and realize the benefit of actually taking a step back and taking that break. And now you guys, it sounds like, are back on it. Um,
It feels better than ever. Almost, it's almost
right.
a much needed vacation. I think for I honestly think the world just needed to stop for this time, and unfortunately, it had to be what it is that's causing us to stop. But I think even my mom mentioned this even when I was coming out of high school going to going to college is I keep on running, 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 and I get to a point where I end up making myself a little bit sick. Not like I'm throwing up or it just me like being exhausted or I'm
Just being worn out.
Right.
worn
Yeah.
out, and
To a
because
point
I'm only
where
getting. Go ahead, man.
yeah. Well, I was just gonna piggyback to a point where, because I've been like, I mean, everybody's been in a situation like that where you're so focused on a goal and you get so worn out, and then you realize that, I mean, it's not always a quality, but you realize you start to slip a little bit, and so it's important
Yeah.
to, take that time. So, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I know you're on a
No,
roll.
you
I'm
good.
curious to keep going. Yeah.
No, you good. And one of the biggest thing too with that, I think like I said, it was difficult for me and over throughout the process of going through even the whole COVID and being stuck at home and things like that. Even with that process, I was trying to get back to the old me. Like I need to get through this funk. I need to get through this funk. And I remember scrolling through Instagram one day, and Charlamagne the guy said, "If we spend, if we," he said, he said, what we need to stop doing is try and get back to the old us. I'm paraphrasing right now. Getting back to the old us, because the old us is back pre-COVID. We need to now start development a mindset to get into a new us. And I'm like, yo, that's great because I'm spending too much time. Like, I need to get back to the groove of the old Eann. I need to get back to the groove to the old Eann, and it just wasn't working out. It almost felt like I was going a little bit deeper, and it really wasn't working out. And once I read that, it just like something just clicked. Like, yo, let me stop trying to be the old Ian. Let me just, in a sense, reinvent myself. And lo and behold, to be honest, that's honestly where my check-ins came from. I needed something to help with me with my mental sanity to kind of keep me sane or keep me focused at the same time.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, and I think that hopefully a lot of people, if they haven't realized it are already, are going to start to realize that exact thing. You know, um, it's weird to say, but the old versions of everybody, like they just don't exist anymore. And if going through this time, if we come out the same as we were before, I mean, it's weird to say this because this is obviously such a tragic thing, but it's like a
Mhm.
waste. Like we didn't learn anything, you know? So I think that a lot of people are starting to realize exactly what you just said. And,
Mhm.
I think that some good might come out of it, but I wonder what's going to happen. I guess we don't really know.
I hope.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
That's all we could do.
It's definitely something to think about. Something super interesting to think about. Now, Andy, I don't want to get away from more questions that you have for Eann, but given time, just so we don't run overly long, what do you think about maybe jumping into a little Who Would Win of the Week, and then we'll get back into just a touch more music stuff before we let the folks carry on with their night. How about
I'm
that?
into it.
What
I could use a little Who Would Win. Eann, are you down?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's play some Who Will Win.
Yeah. So I did. I did kind of come up with a little jingle for it last week. So I don't know if
boy,
Come on.
The stage has been set.
I don't even remember it.
What are you talking
I don't
about?
even remember it.
You remember?
No, don't do
it.
it. Don't do it. No, you remember it.
Yeah.
Hey, now I'm a little shy. Hey, when something along the lines of I actually don't remember my exact.
Take a deep breath.
It was a lot of
Take a deep breath.
Well, I don't have my pad yet either. My sound pad. I'm trying to get one of the sound pads where I can throw in like car crash noises or like
he wants to
a
turn it
reggae
into a
horn.
morning radio show.
Yeah.
Matt, what I'm hearing, I'm gonna tell you what I tell my artists, I'm hearing nothing but excuses. You don't need a pad to sing. You don't need a pad to sing.
Well, now I'm
Go
inspired.
ahead.
Okay.
Come on.
It was a lot of and now somebody's gonna go back and listen and be like, that's not close. But it was some. I'm gonna go off the top here. A lot of like, who would win of the week? Who would win of the week? Something like that. Maybe a little jinglier. Andy, maybe some background vocals for me. The camera's frozen for me, but I can't even imagine what Andrew's trying to say.
I wasn't saying anything. I was taking it all in. That was a lot more. That was a lot more doo-woppy, like 1950s, like peanut butter commercial than I thought it was going to be.
Eann, having met our father, I mean, I don't know if this is something that you could believe that he would say, but he's always told me from a young age that he would let me do anything I wanted to. If it was something that I was passionate about, go do it. There was one thing he would never let me do, and that was go on American Idol, because he couldn't believe that families were okay with letting their kids embarrass themselves and be made fun of on American Idol. So he always said to me, I'll let you do anything, I'll support you in any venture, but you will never be allowed to go on American Idol. So just a little background to
that's not a bad moral to have in the family. That's one of the questions that I may ask like somebody on my check-ins, like what is the rule that a quirky rule that your family may have? And that seems like the quirky rule. Like
I was not allowed to go on American Idol.
Like you that bad, Matt? Like you that bad? Like you?
I can't sing. I will sing. I'm not usually. I kind of got put on the spot today, but I'm usually not afraid to burst out into song. But I also will not claim that it's going to be music to anybody's ears. It's more of a screeching sound.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, from your mouth to God's ear, you know.
Yeah, exactly. It's
to God's earplugs.
Thanks, Andy. See, we support each other as brothers too a lot, obviously, as you can see. So Andy, tee us up. What do we got here? What do we got?
Who
this
would win of the
week?
week? We wanted to do something a little musical with having Eann on, so we tossed around a couple ideas. The one that we landed on, I think it's a good contest. It's Freddie Mercury versus Prince. Now, I know who would win this, as most
Me
who
too.
would win
It's
the
funny
weeks.
you say that because I do too. Yeah, as do I.
It's funny you should ask that, Ian, because the answer to anyone listening is obviously, look, obviously no offense here. That's not what we're trying to do. It's all respect.
Wait, can I interrupt
respect
you?
to everybody involved. No. Respect to
Andy,
everybody
can I interrupt
involved.
you? Wait, I gotta tell Ian something. No, I have to let him know exactly what's about to happen. So Ian, when we come up with our Who Would Win of the Week ideas, the first thing that Andrew does is enter my brain, and he says, what would I do if I was Matthew? Figure out who I would pick, and then compel an argument against me. That's all he does. He has he actually has no true passion for picking the better of the two
That's
in
not
the fight.
true. That's
he
not
has
true
a passion
in the slightest. That's not true.
He has
in
a
the
passion
slightest.
for making sure that I get fired up enough to start yelling some gibberish, and then we go from there.
That's not
how
true
this
in the
game
slightest.
works.
Everybody who
So I'm
listens
curious.
to the Who Would Win knows that I have certain picks that I am very passionate about, my sort of untouchable picks. And it's obvious to me that in this battle, if we've got Freddie Mercury in one corner and Prince in the other, there is no doubt in my mind, nor should there be in anyone else's, that Prince would light up Freddie Mercury. He would destroy him. He would kick his ass, hands down.
All right, spit me 3 arguments right away. I want to hear your first 3.
Athleticism, confidence, and
I don't think either of them lack
magical
confidence.
ability. Prince is, Prince was almost not of this world.
Well, I'll say right now, because now the cat's out of the bag, and I'll tell you exactly why I'm going with who I'm going with, and I'll counter argue every point, but I'm going to say something, and then we'll really get into it. The first 2 CDs that I ever owned, I got them in the same day. Listened to them on the Walkman. Were Queen Greatest Hits and Rush
Gold.
Rush Gold, and I remember listening to Tom Sawyer on repeat. So those were the first 2 CDs I ever owned.
He said Tom Sawyer. I'm okay. Go ahead.
Hey. All right.
You say you got all these
okay.
arguments, but we're not hearing anything.
Listen, Andrew. Okay. Freddie Mercury.
Yeah, I would rather hear Eann.
Okay. Right. Okay. Yeah. I'm shutting up. I'll yell at Andrew tomorrow.
In your defense, Matt, I would say these 2 are powerhouses when it comes to range too, as well. Definitely when it comes to range, for sure. Believe it or not, I'm a Queen fan. I love me some Queen. One of my teachers actually gave us some free Queen's tour shirts, purple. I tried to find it for the show. It didn't work out. It's somewhere in the box somewhere. I really try to get prepared. But Prince is just, I think Prince, just for me, it just had a little bit more impact on the culture, just a little bit more than Freddie Mercury. I think, we got Red Corvette. Like, Freddie Mercury didn't make a movie. You got Purple Rain.
That is an excellent point.
Yeah. Okay.
But that is my reason. That is my reason why I choose Prince. And then, what man that that look like almost look like a woman that would take your girl, Matt? Who do you know that would take your girl, Matt?
Yeah. I mean,
he would take your girl in some heels, and he wearing the heels.
Yeah. Luckily my girl isn't here yet, so she can't. But I guess I'll have to make sure that once she comes over later, that there's no Prince playing in the background.
Yeah, don't watch Purple Rain tonight.
Yeah.
No,
you know what? They both have an undeniable charisma about them. Yes. I think that you can't argue that, and they're both personalities in themselves that will probably hopefully forever be remembered. Just as a Queen, and I've listened to more Queen than Prince, and that's probably a big part of it.
Okay.
But as somebody who, and I was never really a big music person growing up either. Right? Even until I moved out of my dorm and I was living with, a group full of, I lived with 9 guys, and everybody has different taste. And when you're living with 9 guys, there's always entertainment. So there's music playing at all times. And until that, I was fairly, one-sided in music that I listened to. So I'm sure that has a big part to do with it. I don't know. Andrew's looking at me like waiting for me to say something and he can snap right back at. Yeah. So I'm just I'm kind of wearing this one close to the chest here because I think more than anything, this one is definitely a personal preference.
Can Could I ask one thing though? Uh, could I ask you two one question? I know it's you all show, but let me ask you this: Queen versus Guns N' Roses. Who would you choose?
I would still choose Queen. Andy?
That's an interesting comparison.
So
It
it's
is
funny
an-
you bring
it's an
this up though,
interesting
because we did
comparison.
actually, yeah, we did think about going more like group versus group compared to like one artist versus another artist. We had this conversation when we were kind of spitballing ideas, but
Yeah.
Andy, what do you think?
Is this a music question or is this a who would win question?
Both.
Yeah. I second that with Matt.
I think that. Shit. My
Oh,
initial
we tongue
reaction.
twisted.
My initial reaction for who would win is Guns N' Roses. Music wise, I think that the music of Queen is probably going to outlive Guns N' Roses, and I also think it's a little more accessible. And I will say
Going. What
I
do you mean
probably
by
prefer
accessible?
more. Like I feel like if you don't necessarily listen to that type of music, or if you're just starting out, that's a good entry point.
Okay.
Is Queen. But yeah, so it sounds like we know who we're gonna lock in for our answers on this, but
It is Prince.
and it's Prince, and the correct answer
See, but
is
here's the
Prince.
Eann, here's the thing: is that we live in just an upside down world that is 2020, and at the end of the day, regardless of what happens on the show, we always leave the final vote up to the listeners. We put it out on social media, we put it on our Twitter and our Instagram. So
Okay.
there's been a lot of times where, Andy thinks that, he's got this concrete argument that can never be beaten, and out of the woodworks, bam, the Instagram followers come up big for me, and they,
Okay.
I think there's
okay.
I think there's a lot of secret Queen fans out there that you guys are about to find
I'm
out.
sure there are, but that's
Nah,
not.
I'm a fan.
Yeah. Yes, exactly, Ian. That's not what this is about. This is about Prince, Freddie Mercury. Which one is going to win if
1v1.
these guys go toe to toe? And the answer is obviously Prince.
Yeah.
Ian,
He,
his points were unreal especially about Prince being able to take your woman.
I was
Like
gonna say I'm a
wearing a
little
blouse?
nervous now still about my woman comment. Yeah, I
Yeah, I
I
can
might
tell
have to
that's starting to
spice
make
up
you
my
sweat.
outfit later. Yeah, it definitely
don't-
got a hold of me.
Matt, there's nothing you can do to stop Prince from taking your girl. Absolutely not.
Hey, I mean, I could throw on a pretty stylish fit, and I'll get out there. I'll get the footwork going. I mean, maybe no heels for me, just because I've got bad ankles, bad knees, and bad hips. But
Oh,
I have to limit the possibility for self-injury in my life, because Angie will tell you that if there is a potential injury to come, it will probably happen to me. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I try to keep it safe, wear flats, stuff like that. Yeah.
So let's go around the horn one more time. We'll lock him in.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay.
Taking Prince for obvious reasons. I just want to touch on, just to emphasize his athletic ability. Freddie Mercury, obviously a ton of energy, but I think that Prince, he just has this, and maybe part of it is fueled by his charisma,
I think
but
that
I think
there's
that he could
something
outlast anybody in any type of physical competition.
At what point in Freddie Mercury's career might this be taking place, though? Because he did obviously have a decline in health and a decline in just his overall well-being when he was going through his drug. It does make a difference. It's like the conversation that we had, that who was the fight that it was The Rock versus was it The Rock versus Danny Trejo? The Rock is 11 inches taller than Danny Trejo. And you're like, it's the same thing. Like, I'm looking up. I'm just curious. I need physical specs on these two.
Prince,
yeah.
Listen.
Yeah, Prince is shorter. I think Prince is definitely shorter.
Yes, but that's the thing, is Prince is a guy, especially Prince is a guy that not even overcomes, but that's not really a factor with him.
Come on, I'm only 5'5". That don't scare me.
That's what I'm talking about.
And Brett, do you know how tall Prince is?
Yeah, he's about like 5'2". Oh,
Yeah,
around
5'2", 5'3".
Yeah, he's a short guy, and I'm telling you
Yeah,
that doesn't matter. You know the basketball story,
No.
the Eddie Murphy basketball story.
No,
Charlie Murphy
expand
told it on
that,
Chappelle's
bro.
show. You guys don't know that
It's been a
story?
minute.
No, let's hear it.
So I mean, go look up this clip because it's unbelievable. But
I'm gonna look it up.
I'm telling you, it's one of the best stories that there's ever been, and they sort of like reenacted it on the Chappelle show. It's amazing. It's like the most famous clip from that show.
I like the Rick James one.
Yeah, I was gonna say second, probably only to the Rick James stuff. But just to sum it up real quick, Prince and his friends challenged Eddie Murphy and Charlie Murphy and like their friends to a game of basketball. And so Prince gives them like a bunch of athletic wear to put on, like, basketball shorts, whatever. So they go out to the court. Prince and his buddies are still wearing like their clubbing outfits, like their blouses and stuff like that. And they destroyed these guys. They crushed them.
Prince was raining threes or what?
Yes. He was purple raining threes, Matthew.
No, really, no. He's not lying.
Yeah.
He's definitely not
the
lying.
guy was a terrific basketball player. That's well documented. That skill, plus the legend that grew to be Prince.
Yeah.
All those factors. Look, Freddie Mercury, phenomenal talent. And, I'm sure he could hold his own. But he's getting decimated by Prince. Without a doubt.
And if y'all want to add me into it when it comes to the business aspect of the music part, Freddie didn't own most of his masters. Prince did. So masters mean like you own the master recording of that song. So the songs that you hear on a project is the master recording. So out of that, you making way more money. Mostly a record label would take a percentage. But Prince owned all his masters. And back in the day, they used to call it blatantly in the contract slave masters. And that really was the thing back in the day in the contract. So that meaning that your music necessary and yourself is definitely the slave to the actual.
Yeah, you're owned by the record company.
Yeah.
Huh.
That's insane.
You can go sing, you can travel the world, Matt and Drew, make all this money, and you probably leave with about $1,500 every week. You're like, yo, I'm selling records.
Yeah.
They got you, bro.
Yeah.
And then another thing, real quick, I know we go off topic.
No, that's we're off topic now. I love it.
Okay. So when it comes to that, like, you might hear let's say, I don't know, say y'all two. I'm gonna use y'all for example. So Matt and Drew, y'all band. You the two and the cooler. All right.
I play
get
the
signed
saxophone.
to a label.
Matthew plays
You
the
play the
bass.
saxophone. Okay.
I don't actually, but if we were to start a band, that's what I would play.
I played the saxophone in high school, in elementary school, so I think I would play the saxophone.
I wouldn't call what
I
you
played
did
tenor
playing, man.
tenor sax, baby, 5th grade.
Yeah.
Yep. I stood up in that concert. I played my scale. I sat back down. What's up?
Come on, that's
Eric?
what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
He said, "Yeah."
People tell me I'm not musically inclined. What's up?
But no, you funny as hell. But yeah, so say you get signed to a label, right? And they sign you for, let's say, $1 million, right? A lot of people don't understand that $1 million is just like, oh, I got $1 million, yeah. No, that is an advance on your royalties. So you won't see any money until they recruit that $1 million. So you can be doing good, you can be doing all this, you can be doing all that, but you won't see any money until they make their money back. And I think a lot of people got to be very cognizant of that because, yes, this money can change your life, but are you worth $1 million? Maybe you're like, okay, I can't necessarily be the one to accumulate $1 million, but if you give me maybe 750 grand, I can work with that and really see a recruit me on their investment. But $1 million, people get too excited when they see that mill, and then next thing you know, they not making any money at all, and then their project gets shelved because the project ain't do well. Whole bunch of stuff.
Wow, that's
Yeah, I mean
crazy. I had no
it's
idea that
yeah.
that's the way those advances worked. Wow.
Yeah, and I mean it all comes down to it being a competitive business, just like
Hmm.
anything. And you know, I know I keep throwing it back to sports, but it's the same thing. If
Yeah,
you're not, and as much as we've talked about having a personal connection and trying to grow with the people that you surround yourself with, if you're not at the end of the day, you know, making money in a sense, if you're not doing something to help, achieve those goals, it's not a good investment. It's not somebody that you can keep like just keep around and keep saying, all right, like you're gonna get there. In a competitive industry, when you kind of have to be in the what have you done for me lately sense, it's
yeah.
it's always so
And
it
and the
makes sense,
biggest
but it's
conception,
difficult for artists.
and the biggest conception too, Matt, is that a lot of people like will get that money and flaunt it. Like y'all get $1 million, you buy a house, you buy a car, bang, bang, bang. It's time to do the studio, do the album. You ain't got the money to pay the producer, the recording studio, different artists that need to be on a thing. You going back to the label saying you need some more money. They're not about to give you no more money. Better figure that out. And more often than not, y'all, when you get signed to the label, that doesn't necessarily mean that you might be put on just like that. You still necessarily need to have a team around you that's going to help you necessarily develop that brand. Having a label helps you kind of expedite the actual process in a sense. But if your team around you as a artist is not really helping you or really pushing you or being that drive for you, that force, like a manager should definitely be, then the label's like, yo, okay, we gave you this money. You supposed to utilize this money. If you're not exhausting your resources, what you want us to do? It's like when a bank give you a loan. Okay, they give you this. It's really just like this. It's a bank giving you a loan, and the artist is the business, and the label is the bank. And then your job, you have to pay the bank back, quote unquote, the label back. Okay, you start a business. Okay, we got the two in the cooler restaurant. All right, you take a $500,000 loan from the bank. Okay, that is the advance that the label is giving you. Okay, you think the business is gonna be able to pay this back within the next 2 years, and you don't. Now you collecting these interest fee, or the label, or the actual bank is gonna start taking stuff from you, and that is how the label is. Where okay, you got this $500,000 loan, and you just blew all this money away. We still need our money. So either you sign this contract saying that we get either the rights to your name, complete masters, or they might put you in a 360 deal. 360 deal mean in the sense of they getting money from everywhere, from merch, publishing, endorsement deals, things like that. It's crazy out here, y'all. It's really, and the biggest thing you go back to is you have to read your damn contract. You have to read. I think if anybody gonna take anything from me from this podcast is read your damn contract. It is not on the person who you sign it with to educate you, but it's on to you to educate yourself and actually get a lawyer. That's why I kind of, if we circle back to what you were saying, Drew, about like the bad practice of managers, the biggest thing is sometimes it's not necessarily on the manager because it's not my job. Say if I'm signing you as an artist, Drew, we can't go to the same lawyer. If you go to the same lawyer, that's malpractice. That's wrong because if I'm telling you go to my lawyer is going to be more on my side than he is going for you. So of course you're like, yeah, this sounds great. Sign this. But if you actually get a lawyer to actually read your contract, then ask questions too, and yeah, it might be a little expensive, but it's going to be worth it paying that little couple change. it could mean the total difference. A lot of people will talk about Diddy business sense, but he sent you a contract. He didn't force you to sign it because it's if you if there's any sign of duress and you sign a contract, the contract is now void. So those are things you got to have to take in consideration. But if you didn't read your contract, it's not up to me to be like, oh, did you read it? Did you understand everything? If you sign it now, I'm expecting that you, and even in the contract, it says that you have talked to or talked to a lawyer or decided not to in the contract and you signed it. So just read your contract, y'all. Read the fine print. If you don't understand, you need to get a lawyer who understands for you. Spend that couple $100 and get it.
Right. You need to be proactive in your own career and in your own life. That's the only way you're going to benefit from that is by educating yourself and that sort of thing. Yeah. Uh, I know we're probably getting close to the end here, but I got a few more questions for you if you don't mind, Ian, that
No,
I'm
not at
curious
all.
about. So we've talked quite a bit about Mero as an artist. He's also producing now. Is there a difference in the way that you, as a manager, approach managing an artist and managing a producer?
Another good question, Drew. Um, I wouldn't say yes or no, because we already have a artist foundation when it comes to Morrow, and then when it comes to that for the producer, normally it's easier for me to get him in the doors because of what he already done as an artist, and then that usually helped me. But when it comes to managing, just say if he say he would just focus on producing, it could be a little bit more challenging because you only going off of some of the music that you work, and not quite frankly, if you don't really have a catalog or something to really show that you have a diverse catalog or work with different type of people, and that doesn't matter if they like famous, top tier artists or up and coming artists or even local artists. If you don't have a plethora of a diverse catalog, I can't manage really anything. So that's really the big thing. But as of right now, for me, it's really not a difference between the two, just only because how it started.
Right, that makes sense. And I'm sure the fact that, Mero in particular is both of those things adds to that as well.
And
All right.
that helps too, and that really helps, especially when we write songs to reference for other artists as well. So, say if I'm having him come up with a concept or idea that I think he should create for someone else.
So as we wrap up here, uh, what do you got? What are you guys up to now? Uh, what's coming out? What do you want people to check out? What's going on?
Um, what we have going on right now, we are dabbling into brand management right now. We are working with a illustrator called Individual, who have been really uh, creating very impactful artwork, illustration too. Just last June, not last June, just a couple months ago in June this year, it's Juneteenth. Is more of more. It was the freedom where, if you don't understand, Juneteenth is where we necessarily people of color, Black people, got their quote unquote their freedom. Necessarily not Fourth of July, but that is celebration for us to celebrate our freedom, and he made this very impactful illustration, and within that illustration, it really got blown up a lot of different places. It's just how social media really works, which is really dope. And so we help him with his production, so helping him sending out his prints and things like that, mailing it out, helping him with the customer service, and also helping him with the management aspect. Managing him is much different than managing any artist, but a lot of the skills I have in the music industry is very transferable for what I do with him as well. And the biggest thing is just really time management, task management. My job is necessarily to make sure that you are the highest production, but making sure that you are really taking time to yourself, because if you don't take any type of pause or any type of moment to yourself, your creativity juices start to slow down. I'd rather have someone take moments to just breathe, maybe for a couple of days, and then jump back onto it. And that kind of go back to what Matt and I was saying about the exhaustion. I don't. What would be the worst thing is to exhaust your artist and then they either get sick and they can't work for like a month. No, I'd rather you just take maybe a week, maybe a couple of days so you're off so you can relax, regroup, re-energize, and then we can go back on the road for another, another couple of months. It's all about that. Mauro is supposed to drop his next project. He was actually supposed to drop last year, y'all. I got so frustrated because I wear two hats. I'm a fan of his, and I'm also his manager.
Yeah, I heard you
So
talking
when
about
we
this
have
on that check-in.
yeah, when we have our meetings, I always say I got to put on my management hat on, or I'd be like, as a fan, I got to put my fan hat. So when he told me he switched it back, like fan hat. As a fan, why the hell are you pushing it back? Like it's ready. He said no. He said he gotta kind of go back in production and kind of fill out maybe some new sounds. Everything is just starting kind of almost sounds similar, and I had to respect that as an artist. So this is a project that was supposed to come out last year, but I would definitely say from someone who's seen the previous project, this project is definitely worth the wait. Um, and I'm excited for this to come out, and it's coming out in 2 months in November. So I'm really really excited about that. We already shot a video last year for it. We're gonna be shooting another video in the next month. He's gonna drop the cover out soon. What else? Um, Yeah, I also work with a female artist named Cookie, who is super, super phenomenal. Right now, she's just taking a little bit of a break to focus on the next project. But she's just been doing her thing phenomenally. She actually was working with an artist called Brass Track, and really got some fire stuff that's supposed to be coming out. Um, what else? As a company, we just brought in a good friend of mine to come in and help with more of the accounting aspect of it. Her name is Daquella Blacks. The company is called Queen Q Consultants, and what we are trying to do is start to continue to educate our artists and educate the people that we work with, as in if that's brand or if that's consultant, anything that we do is helping them to have more financial literacy when it comes to their business, especially when artists. So my friend Quells is helping us not only with the equality accounting aspect of it. I like to call it the general manager because if me and Kima is not in the room and she's in the room, I trust her ideas, judgment without any questions asked. Like me and Kima can be on vacation, me and Kima can be in another meeting, and she has to go. I have no worries at all. No worries at all. So I would say she's definitely third in command of the business. And so financially, we are creating different things to kind of help educate the artists, independent artists, how to really navigate through this business with their financial and just understanding like, yeah, you can't do all this if you got no budget. So helping our artists and local artists kind of create those budgets. What else? Because you asked a question, so I got some things to say.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, um,
Keep it coming.
me and Kima, Kima and I are finalizing our merch. Everyone we keep on asking about equality, equality. We want some merch. We want some merch. Um, we so focused on artists that we rather have their like stuff for them to kind of come out, and we almost forget about us as a company. So 2020 kind of been us kind of focused on us as a company as well. So we'll be dropping a merch line soon. Just typical like hoodies, shirts. I'm not too sure we're gonna do masks just yet. Uh, this mask shit is a whole different thing, but we
Yeah,
say that for another time.
yeah,
Um, but yes, I think that is pretty much it. That's pretty much it, really. Um, Kima. Oh, last thing, Kima and I are working on creating uh, a open mic, but only on Instagram, and allow people to pop in and out on our Instagram live and just perform, do their own thing, and switch it up. And ultimately, it's going to help us to kind of help um, navigate people more back to our Instagram your quality page too. That would definitely be helpful.
yeah.
I
That's a
think
great
I think
idea.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
Well, everybody, make sure that you follow Ear Quality. Follow
Definitely,
Eann,
I was gonna
the
say,
Ear
Andy,
Robinson. Yeah.
we can get that stuff out through our social too when we're
Where
putting this out. That way people can check out more of what you've got going on in your background and stuff, because I'm sure that people are listening are gonna be interested. So I think that it'll be good.
please.
Andy, any more questions you got here before we start to wrap up? I know we've good episode today as far as a little longer than usual, but I think it was time well spent. So,
Absolutely.
Andy?
Yeah, we're
anything?
good to go. Eann, cannot thank you enough for being here, man. We really appreciate it. I know, I can't speak for Matthew, but I think he probably loved talking to you as much as I did, man.
Yeah, it was. This was, I think, one of the best interviews we've done so far. I think the people that are listening are going to love it, and I know Andy and I loved it. So thank you. Anything else you want to say or?
Yeah. First and foremost, thank y'all. Y'all the first podcast that I've been on, so I would like to share that with y'all. I really enjoyed it. It was like I know you guys already. Like we've been family since day one, so it says a lot about both y'all energy. So I appreciate y'all. And what I would like to bring to you all is my favorite saying is continue to be great and continue to inspire. Because you never know this podcast, what you're doing, you don't know how much is inspiring y'all. It actually putting a battery in my back to almost start my own podcast too. So I would like to share that with you all too. So no, for real, continue to be great and continue to inspire. Because you never know who you inspire around you.
I appreciate that, Andy.
That's a perfect way to end it. Eann, thank you for being on, man. Thanks everybody for listening. Let's get out of here, guys.
See ya.
Everybody have a good night.